good morning, or good afternoon, actually. My name is Jeannie O'Dell, and I'm from the Canyon Lake Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to meet with us today. This is a chance to ask you some questions, get your information out there to our constituents, or to your constituents. So what's going to happen today is Casey Castillo is our timekeeper. I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. You'll have a couple minutes for an introductory statement, a couple of minutes for each question, and then we have some time left for a closing statement.
Wonderful.
So I'd like to take this opportunity to allow you to introduce yourself and give us some information.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it. First of all, thank you for having me. As a first timer, I'm very appreciative of your time as well. My name is Paul Kakis. I am a Canyon Lake resident. I've lived here since 1995. I moved here shortly after the city incorporated in 1990. I was attracted by the lifestyle, the uniqueness of the community, the amenities that it provided, and subsequently moved here and raised a family. And in addition to that, I've been some of your AYSO soccer coaches. I've been a referee. I've volunteered quite a bit of my time to community projects, member of the Canyon Lake Car Club, and participated in community events. For me, it's very important to continue the lifestyle and the community. And because of that, I wanted to stand up and participate in what I feel is a very worthwhile cause, to be part of the community and to be able to look after its feeding and care, if you will, and to take my experiences and bring those to the table in order to make it a better Canyon Lake.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, we'll go ahead and get started on some of our questions then.
Okay.
So what do you feel has been the city's biggest accomplishment in the recent years?
Well, there's been quite a few. I think the biggest challenges were for me, were the road improvement projects that had happened over the last few years. As the widening of the roads and the setting of the speed limits and the egress and egress for folks with disabilities, I think was key. It's very difficult for people in wheelchairs and other disabilities to get up and down, our streets, and I think that was probably one of the major ones for me.
Okay, thank you. What is your perspective on the city's stated goals for the year, and what goals would you establish?
So that's an interesting question, okay? Because I'm a fairly learned person. I know how to access information. I had people on my staff look as well. And, one of the things I have to say is that the stated goals of the city are really not out in front for you to find. We looked on the website, we looked at the Chamber's website, we looked on the POA website, and they were really not self-evident. You had to dig into the information to really extract what some of those goals were. And I think, one of the things that I would like to bring to the table with regards to the city and its citizens, to be able to take all the good things that the city does, respect to those goals and those accomplishments, and push that out to the citizens. Instead of being a one-way dialogue, having them access a web page to find information, we should be more proactive with our citizens and getting the information out to them that's important, like fire, safety, health, other issues that Canyon Lake citizens care about.
Okay, what goals would you establish? What goals would you have for the city?
So, and I think if anybody has seen our Facebook page, for me, and I think everybody agrees about this, safety is number one. So safety, growth, prosperity for its system, for its citizens. Safety in terms of enhancing our contract with the Sheriff's Department. At this particular time, we only have one patrol officer on duty at any given time, and when that patrol officer is engaged in a call, they have to get backup from the Sheriff's Department, from either the Lake Elsinore dispatch or another surrounding city. When they back us up, obviously there's a charge for that, and the city gets charged back for that assistance. And the same thing with fire. I think we really need to look at that and make that a goal, for next year, to decide how we go about providing those enhanced services for our citizens. I think we need to look at zoning. We need to have growth, and if we don't have growth, then we don't have a city. I'm all for preserving the Canyon Lake lifestyle, but at the same time, we have to bring in revenue to be able to pay for the services that our citizens need. And so rezoning may be one, looking at other ways to bring in monies to the city, and we do some of that now through state and federal grants, from county projects and opportunities, to try and offset us going into our citizens' pockets all the time when when a need arises. Okay, so those are some of the things that I think are very, very important to me as a resident and to the rest of you out there that live in our community.
I kind of like to go off a little bit off topic to kind of like draw out some information from you.
Sure.
So you mentioned grants, state and federal grants. What
Right.
kind of grants do you think are available for the city?
So there are clean power, right? Green energy. There is assistance for projects that have to do with expansion or development or greenery development. There are assistance programs for people with disabilities, etc. So I don't have the specifics on those programs, but I did do some research to see what would be available. There is a process that you go through to apply for them. They're not guaranteed. But if we're not looking at all aspects to bring in revenue, other than taxing the constituency, then we'd be remiss in doing what we need to be doing for our community. So.
Great, thank you. This kind of ties in with the next question, of course, is what is your perspective on the city's budget and the need to increase revenue to pay for critical services? You've mentioned a couple of ideas
Right.
already.
So I've looked at the budget. So the budget is kind of tenuous, right? Because we're already struggling with paying our existing bills. I mean, here's the thing. So in a community like Canyon Lake that's kind of encapsulated, right, where the majority of the revenue comes from, really, I would say, it's taxpayers. It's very limited by the money that we get back from the state for property tax, because the state takes most of that. And because we're at almost 95 or 96% capacity, I think there's only 43 lots left to develop within our community. That really doesn't add a lot of revenue to the city, right? So you could look at ways of growth, maybe rezoning or redistricting part of the community itself to provide the ability to build more retail or commercial space, right? You could look at perhaps the acquisition of land to provide future development so that you can bring in sales tax revenue, because most of the businesses here in this center are professional businesses, so they don't pay a lot of sales tax, okay? Or you could look at vertical growth. You could look at the ability, instead of to grow out, to grow up, and then you'd have to provide rezoning to be able to have a multi-level, businesses to be able to bring more commercial development and more retail space into what's an already fixed, community. So, but for those who love Canyon, like myself, we can't do nothing. We have to do something, because I'm sure 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, other generations want to be able to raise their children here. It's a unique community, and if we don't act, then there won't be a community to enjoy. It'll get absorbed into, a Lake Elsinore or a Menifee. That's my concern.
Thank you. What would be your priority if or once you're elected, and how would you implement that?
So, one of my priorities is just, we can't be all things to all people all the time, right? We'd have to look and do an audit of our existing expenditures, the books as they call it, right? And look at reprioritizing projects and how that impacts the community, right? We'd have to put a list together from the top down. We may not be able to do everything that we want to do. We have to look at renegotiating contracts, perhaps, with regards to fire and safety. We have to look at ways of developing new revenue, as I stated. So that'll be part of maybe rezoning, our city, and prioritizing that in order to bring in some more commercial space. I mean, it's interesting I think the 3 miles that makes up Canyon Lake from stem to stern, if you will, right? You have to pass through this area to get to 2 major freeways, right? And we want to keep the residents here and people that pass through it a reason to stop, and a reason to shop, and a reason to spend money here. And at the same time, I also want to look at a traffic study. Far too many citizens and their children have been either injured or killed on Railroad Canyon and then just 3 miles of roadway that's out in front of the city hall here. And I'd like to do a traffic study and see about how we can improve the road condition, additionally to what it's already been done. But I think we need to slow things down. I think people go way too fast, and I think that people's lives are at risk. So those are just some of the things that I would do.
Great, thank you. And once again, you kind of touched on it, but future development within Canyon Lake, you've talked about within our existing space. You've
Right.
touched a little bit about outside of our existing space, but do you want to elaborate on any of that further?
Well, I do. So, I mean, so we have space maybe within, so we never look at the space that's within the community itself. So that would be something that may be looked at, that may be some additional commercial development on the East Bay or commercial development in front of the golf course. They talked about BLM land at one point and the acquisition of BLM land and whether that was still an opportunity to look at expansion. Goats Hill, previously in years past, there was a measure that came up about its development and that didn't go forward. I think that, what we've been doing hasn't been contributing to the city's growth. And so we need to think out of the box, if you will, in order to provide the growth that the city so desperately needs. So if it's redistricting or rezoning, or if it's looking at land development, or if it's bringing in tax incentives to bring in more retail merchants or what have you, because obviously a lot of those have been devastated by COVID-19. We may have to look at those incentives to bring those merchants back. But we can't do nothing. We have to do something. Okay, and it may not be popular at this point, but 10 years from now, when we're fiscally viable and not fiscally insolvent, and that we can cover all the checks that we are writing, then everyone will say, you know what, that was the right thing to do.
So you're not afraid of making tough decisions, I think is what you're saying.
I think we all, as a community, have to work together to make the decisions that are right for its constituents, that it has to be participatory. It's not me or the council, it's the Merchants Association, it's the homeowners, it's the club presidents, it's everybody participating in their community and taking ownership for it and providing input in order to have a better Canyon Lake. So I guess, yes.
Simple answer.
Yes.
So what interactions with city government or county government or state government have you had? And have you been involved in any of the city committees, or just give us
Sure.
an idea of some of your experience dealing with governments?
So in government, my most recent experience over the last 10 years have been actually with the city of Lake Elsinore. So for the last 7 years, I've sat on the City of Lake Elsinore's Parks and Recreation Committee, and I have worked with them to help revitalize their historic downtown. For those who are car enthusiasts and know me from the historic downtown cruises that we put on there pre-COVID for the last 6 years, I've worked with the city to produce those car cruises or shows, and worked with the Downtown Merchants Association to help revitalize the downtown and give people a reason for going there. And thus then setting up the monies collected for those who come to it to charitable causes. In addition to that, I've worked with their city council to help with their Dream Extreme program, which is part of cleaning up the city and helping to do beautification projects, kind of in the all over Lake Elsinore. In addition to that, people know me from the Lamps Fellowship, where I have an honorary title with them. I'm not a employee of the church, but I am the director of events ministries at the Lambs Fellowship, and they know that I put on the annual children's charity car show every year, and I've been doing it for the last 7 years. And those monies that we get from the car show, the charitable revenue that we get, goes to social programs right here, both in Canyon Lake and in Lake Elsinore, for needy kids with disabilities, that are impoverished, that have learning disabilities, or that just need financial assistance. And beyond that, just within Canyon Lake, participating in our programs that we have here over the last 25 years. So.
Great. Okay. So why should we elect you? What strengths can you bring to the council? And then conversely, what would your weakness be, if any?
Well, so, my motivation for, doing this is, I don't want to be an armchair quarterback. I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So, I'm not doing this for, anything other than the fact that I want to contribute to the city and help make it better. I work a full-time job. I have a very busy schedule. I'm a father of 4, right? A grandfather. And I trust me, and everybody who knows that's a full-time job in itself. And for me, I have the vitality, I have the business sense and the business know-how that I think that I can bring and contribute. I've been I have a business acumen. I have a background in finance. In addition to that, I think I bring some sense and sensibility to government and an integrity and honesty that's needed. In addition to that, I have the willingness to do it, and I'm willing to make time to put that forward and do the best job I possibly can for the city.
So what would you consider your strength to be out of all that?
Well, I think I'm old enough to know better and young enough to have the stamina in order to take on a demanding job like this.
Okay. And then any weakness that you think you might have?
Well, I think the only weakness is if you think it's a weakness. For me, I'm kind of a straight ahead person. I think that you're getting that from me, and the only thing that prohibits anybody the opportunity to do anything is the opportunity to do so, right? So if it's any weakness, it's not having the burden of having this background in politics or city government, but bringing those fresh ideas forward in order to have an honest look at how we as a city can change things. Now, you may think that's a weakness, or you may think that's a strength, but I'll let the city of Canyon Lake decide that one.
It's funny because I always tell my son when he's in interviews and stuff like that, take your weakness and turn it into a strength. So
there you go.
Yeah, I think that was good. We are actually kind of running way ahead of schedule, so I'm going to. I do want to ask you. You mentioned your Facebook. Would you like to let everybody know how they can find you if they have questions for you?
Oh, that would be great. So you can email me at Kakis, the number 4, citycouncil@gmail.com. Okay.
You want to spell Kakis just in case?
Sure. If I could write it out and hold it up to the camera. Okay. That'd be great.
For those of us that might be challenged.
Hey, well, it's an F to the last name.
And then I believe you have a Facebook page as well.
So, I don't know if you can see that. Kakis for Council
Does it come out the right way?
at gmail.com. Not the best of handwriting, folks. And
He's not being judged on his handwriting.
I hope not, because I would certainly fail. And they can see Paul Kakis for City Council on Facebook.
I've noticed that you take some beautiful pictures on your Facebook. Are you a photographer or
I'm just a hobbyist.
a hobbyist? Okay.
So for those of you who have been struggling through COVID and have been looking for things to do, and if your normal routine has been broken, I like physical fitness, and I like to work out and run on a treadmill. And when that didn't happen anymore, I started going for walks. And one of the walks that I do every other day, it's a 4-mile walk that takes me across the Treasure Island Causeway. And if you've ever had a chance to go there and towards Happy Camp at sunset, either in Jump Lagoon or across the lake towards the lodge, you get the most beautiful views. So I encourage everybody to walk. It's good for your health. And if you want to see some beautiful views like the pictures that I post, that's where you can find them.
Yeah. No, I've just, you did some, and that's not filtered. I mean, some of those sunsets are absolutely gorgeous.
No, and my friend Paul Walsh, he also is an amateur like myself. He's one of my walking partners, and you'll see his pictures on that Facebook page as well, and he's a great photographer. So I hope everybody will vote for me.
Well, I'm going to allow you time, of course, to give us a summary of anything else that you'd like us to know. As I said, you are a man of brevity.
Okay.
So, which means you don't talk much. I hope I
Okay.
use that word
Well, I wasn't
right.
sure about that.
Yeah, I know. I hope I used the word right. I'm an educated person, but after I saw your face, I'm going, maybe I just used the
No,
word
I
right.
got it. I got it.
So please feel free to expand on any of the
I-
questions that I've asked or.
So it's hard to, really put, a prospectus together, on camera for those who are watching. I mean, when you talk about what are you going to do as a city council person, right? How are you going to go about it? There's a process for everything. We don't just jump into it, right, and shoot from the hip, so to speak. I mean, you have to look at the feasibility studies, right? You have to get consensus with your fellow council people. You have to put an agenda together, write a plan, right? You have to vet that plan. Sometimes you'll go into things with the best intentions of trying to provide some sort of support or some sort of activity, some sort of new direction. You may find that it takes you down a dead-end road, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't put those processes in place in order to look at what we can do as a city to make things better. My whole theme about this is let's make Canyon Lake better. And I think it's the out-of-box thinking that's going to help. For me, I've enjoyed living here and participating in so many of the programs. I've had an opportunity to do a lot of things that I wouldn't have had the ability to do in other communities, right? Which has kind of led me to where I am today. I wanted to give back to my community many years ago, and I was searching for something to do. And I had been blessed with this opportunity to start working with kids and then to develop a foundation. And then that foundation grew into a board of governors. I was elected the president of that board of governors. And then we started to be able to raise money for children, and I got to see the direct effects of that aid to those kids. It didn't go to some nebulous charitable organization where most of the administration fees were paid from the monies that you collect. We could see direct evidence of where the money went, how it's accounted for, and how it changed those children's lives. And I believe that we have to do the same thing here. We have to have the same steadfastness, the same methodical process in order to making the lives of our citizens better. And we can't turn a blind eye. I mean, you could say, I like things the way they are. Well, you know what? I like things the way they are too, but it's not sustainable. So we may have to do things that are uncomfortable, but we need to do it in a participatory way where we all contribute to making what I believe is one of the best places in the world to live, a better place. And I believe that people want safety, they want security, right? They want growth, and they want prosperity. So if you vote for me, those are the things that I will try to bring to the position.
You've mentioned a couple of times about involving the community in the decision making. How do you envision that happening? How would you do that?
So for example, there's technology out there that we don't take advantage of that we certainly should in terms of communicating with our constituency, right? I mean, every time that there's something that should be discussed, right? It doesn't have to be discussed here in just these four walls. We can use Instagram, we can use social media, we can use active tools to get the community to participate and give feedback, right? I think that direct feedback will help us shorten the cycle to making decisions based upon the huge list of issues that are on the council's program at any given time, right? Okay. And we need that feedback. We may think that we're going down the right road, so to speak, with whatever legislation that the city is looking for, but we could be 180 degrees out. I think focus groups are important. I think that input is important, and I think that technology can help us get that focus and input that we need.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know if people know that I'm an actions-oriented kind of person. When friends that also live in this community said to me, you should think about running for city council, I thought that they were crazy, right? Because I had never thought about looking at a position in city government. Hadn't crossed my mind. And I read the Friday Flyer, and I look at the Chamber's website, and I try to figure out what's going on. I started to take a position on things, and I thought, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something that I can contribute. And the more that I thought about it, the more encouragement that I got, I decided that I wanted to step up and take all the experience that I have, as a business person, as a philanthropist, as a person that has gathered communities together and work with civil government and on some large projects as well, and kind of an integrity and a sensibility, a business sensibility towards government. I thought, maybe that's something that I could bring that others don't have. And with the encouragement of my wife Pamela and my family and my friends, that's why I'm here today. So.
I have one last question for
Yes.
you. What kind of car do you have that belongs to the car, because you're a member of the car club?
So I have a couple of cars, actually. I'm kind of a car crazy kind of guy.
Okay.
So the one car that people know me for, it's a 1948 bright orange metallic Ford Coupe.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, you may have. It's been in a few parades here,
Yeah.
etc. And next week, when I get my magnets put on the side of my car, it'll say vote for Paul for city council. You'll see me cruising up and down the streets, and feel free to stop me and ask me for a ride. Or I'm always happy to show off my car. And I think that it's interesting that with Lamb's Fellowship, I can digress for one moment. So, because you asked an important question, what makes you want to run, and what skills do you bring? Well, these are kind of acquired, and one thing that I learned is, with putting on this charity car show for so many years, it wasn't about the car show at all. It had taken on a life of its own, if you know what I mean. The car show was just a venue to bring people in, okay? What it evolved into was those who wanted to serve and those who were looking to belong not only to the church, but to be part of something greater than themselves, and to be able to contribute to the fundraising for those kids in need, and then to see the reaction of the kids and the benefit that they receive. Remarkable, okay? You can't trade that for any money, any other kind of feeling than the reward that it comes from that. And that's what I'm hoping to do here. It's not about the city government. It's what the city government can do for the citizens, and how we can transcend those things and make it a better place to live.
Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate your time. I know that you are very busy, and I appreciate the fact that you were able to readjust your
Sure.
schedule for us.